The tension for us filmmakers is always how do we get the most high-end cinematography for the lowest budget? Or at least that's what our clients are asking us. So that's what we're breaking down today, and it's based on a branded short documentary piece. Documentary, I use that loosely, but a short branded piece we did for a brand called Blue Star Nutraceuticals. You can watch the full video of that below. It's about a 4-minute piece we made for them. But let's get into these questions provided by you. Thank you for asking them. This video is sponsored by Crucial. More on that later. First question I got a lot from you was, how did we pitch this to the client? I know the dream is always to get to go shoot documentary style pieces that don't feel like advertisements. And how is it that we're able to do this for the client? Well, there's a tension as a filmmaker. The higher the budget, typically the more involved the client will be. So I find that the lower the budget, the more creative freedom I gain. And creative freedom is, in a way, creative fulfillment. And that's why we're filmmakers. It's why we pick up our cameras to shoot. So for me, I will take a lower budget sometimes if it means that there's no client on set and that they're giving us more creative freedom. We shot this for a razor thin budget, but that's because the client was like, hey, we'll give you the smaller budget. We won't be there. Just make sure to get one shot in the piece of our pre-workout mix, which you see, it's just this simple 5-second scene in the piece. What we did too to help them out is we threw on the Blue Star shirts that they wore throughout it. Didn't feel overly branded because it's something that they would be wearing normally. So remember that tension. Higher budget, less creative freedom. More creative freedom, usually the lower the budget, or at least that's how I pitch it to the client. To me, creative freedom. Well done. Is worth just as much as money. One of you asked about my volume panning, how you were able to hear his audio so clearly with some of the sound effects. This is a little trick. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. There might be sound people who will be pissed at me for doing this, but sometimes I do pan my sound effects over to one speaker where the action is moving towards, and I leave the main voiceover in both channels. So if you go to 304 of the actual piece, you'll hear the punching sounds only coming through kind of in the right channel, when meanwhile the voice is in both the left and the right.
I hope to learn from coaching that my methods are valid.
What this does is it allows the voice to be more present in the mix, but then the sound effects aren't overtaking it, and it sounds like they're coming towards the direction of which they're occurring on screen. There's probably some sound people and some sound mixers and editors here who will say that's a wrong thing to do, but it's something I like to mess around with, and I find it helps the audio come out clear, especially on laptop speakers. So I just got back from Europe, and I shot about 90% of my footage on my iPhone directly to an SSD. I've been shooting log ProRes, and I never thought I would be at this point in my career where so much of my B-roll is being shot on my iPhone. But for YouTube, it's just been so easy to work with. And if you saw my iPhone video, the color space now that Apple has implemented with the log is top notch. It can integrate into a professional workflow. What I love too is just shooting onto one of these SSDs, unplug it, and I'm directly editing onto my computer, which I've then kind of made the transition entirely in my arsenal now over to these Crucial drives, the X9 and the X10, because not only are they the fastest read and write in their class, they weigh less than 40 grams. I think the X9 is like 36 grams, which is about as much coffee as I drink in the morning. So when Crucial approached me to sponsor my channel, it was a no-brainer because this is a product that I've already been using. To put it into perspective, you can get the drives up to 4 terabytes. So this little stack right here is 16 terabytes of footage. The X10 is so fast that you can write up to 2 terabytes in under 2 minutes.
You're a liar. You're a liar!
No, that's not true. 20 minutes. 2 minutes would be amazing. Maybe one day, but for now, 20 minutes is pretty dang fast. I actually just flip it around and have it sit there on my laptop like this, and sometimes it even dangles down. But it's so light that I've never had a disconnect, and I kind of edit everywhere. And what's so great about these drives is they're dust and water resistant. Now, I haven't tried it, but you can edit out in the rain with this, and it should be fine.
Why would you do that?
And no, I did not paint my fingernails. I smashed my hand on a light. So now it looks like I paint one fingernail, my pinky, for when I drink my champagne. Also, little bonus, if you're buying an X9 Pro or an X10 Pro, Crucial has actually partnered with Adobe, and you get 1 month free to Adobe Creative Cloud All Apps plan when you buy one of these drives. These have unequivocally been my favorite addition to my editing arsenal, and actually just my gear all around. I like things that are light, and fast. Check the link down below. Let's get back to the video. Next question, how did we develop the narration? Great question, and this is very, very important. I also challenged myself in this piece where I didn't shoot any interview footage because I wanted to only shoot B-roll. I find when you don't shoot the visuals for an interview, it forces you as a filmmaker to think more as a visual storyteller. So I challenge myself these days where I often won't shoot a visual interview so that I have to focus on scenes and creating a visual story arc. The way I approached this is I got on a call with Joel and began asking questions. What is changing in your life? What is new? What are your goals right now? And this is where he revealed to me that he's actually getting into coaching. And he's actually realizing right now, late in his career, that he should be mentoring people, that he can't continue to be a fighter. So this is an interesting moment for him where he's trying to find out, can he be a coach? Anytime someone's asking a question in their life, that is probably the story you need to tell. So that was a pre-Zoom interview. Then waited a couple days and I did a follow-up call to make sure he had the characters, and we spoke a bit about what we could actually accomplish in this. This is my setup and planning call. Then we met in the hotel room. We had a quick discussion in person, but we just got into the interview. We began exploring these themes and ideas. And what I find is I like to do 2 interviews in most of my projects, one at the beginning of the project because this will inform me what B-roll I want to shoot. And then I do a follow-up interview at the end because often people have had more time to think about these ideas and there's extra content they want to say. And this was certainly the case for Joel. So I encourage for you, don't always feel like you have to do it in one interview. Splitting it into 2 or waiting late into the project to do your interview will allow you to nail the questions that will help your storytelling. Next question, why so dark? I respond, I don't know, maybe brighten your screen. To me, I shot all the skin tones between 40 and 60 IRE. This is kind of the level that I'm playing with these days. And to be honest, I didn't find it dark. If you did, let me know. And that's great to know what it looks like on other people's screens. But to me, Joel lives in a dark, brooding, moody world. He doesn't have his lights on in his house. He works out in a gym that's really just lit by a fireplace. So I wanted to emulate the life that Joel lives. Next question, why so heavy on the grain? Well, one thing that unfortunately happened for this when I was exporting it, I was in Portugal, my hotel had really bad Wi-Fi, so I had to really compress this in order to be able to upload it in time. Had I been here in Canada where I have high speed, I would have done a 2 VBR pass and probably done 150 megabits, really had a robust maximum bit depth rate render so that when I uploaded it, the grain wouldn't be so digital as it comes across on YouTube. That said, at this point in my career, I want to try new things. I want to try a heavy grain, see how an audience reacts to this. These are low stake environments when it's a lower budget project and the client can give me feedback whether they like it or not, but this is my director's cut. This is what was on YouTube. I'm messing with areas in my cinematography that I want to explore and I want to see it put out into the world and feel it out and see, do I like this? It's all about growth. It's all about experimentation and you're not always going to get it right. I learned a lot on this simple small project. Next question, what gear did you use? Now, I've already kind of covered this in some other videos, but we kept it pretty simple. It was just an FX3 shot, maybe 85% of it on the Helios using a mixture of the Sennheiser MKE 400 mic and then also the Sennheiser 416 mic. A lot of you will ask, what the heck is this? These are step rings because this is a really tiny front element. Step rings are terrible to work with. Gosh, what the frick? This is embarrassing. These are 49 mil, and then I adapted all the way up to 82 mil here with a Polar Pro mist filter. This is the 2-to-5 ND, and then I also use the 6-to-9 when I'm outside in direct sunlight. You should always have extra ND on set in your bag because you can always take it away. The worst thing to be happening is being on set and your shots are overexposed because you didn't bring any ND filters. In post-production, just stuck in Premiere on this, using Lumetri, using the nitrate film grade, and then also editing on my Crucial drives. Like I said earlier in the video, these are super fast. I usually bring a stack of them on set in case they fill up, but with the 2 terabytes and shooting on the FX3, you don't need much more space than that. And it only takes a couple minutes to download the footage. There's no long wait times. I've just completely gotten away from spinning discs on set. They're too risky, they can miss write, they're heavy, they take up more space. To me, the investment of these SSDs is the best thing ever. And then I just take this footage back to my RAID here at the office, and then I send it over Media Shuttle to my editors, and that's kind of the workflow. Highly recommend. Get a bunch of SSDs, you will not regret it. This next question I actually appreciate. Why did I choose this opening line? There were so many good ones in this project. Well, I actually had a second version of this where Joel talks about that he never had a coach growing up, that he actually got his ass kicked a lot.
A lot of my teenage years training was just getting my ass kicked by way better people.
I think I prefer that opening line from that rough cut. But as I played this back with my team and I discussed with Michael Del Monte, the co-founder of Art of Documentary, who helped shoot this piece, we spoke about it and we really had to get down to the theme that Joel is realizing his life was selfish without giving back to others. He's always been fighting other people, and now late in his career, he's just training for himself, and he's felt like he's wanted to begin pouring back into the other people around him. So this is where we really needed to get towards the theme quicker, so we changed the opening lines. Again, in these short doc style pieces, you're trying to get your characters to say the most concise ideas with the least amount of words. So that's what we are doing with that opening scene. Did I like some of the other lines that he said? Absolutely. But again, if it doesn't come back to the core question of your character, then you're kind of just adding in distraction. Always ask yourself, if this was a film that I was writing in my computer, would I think about adding in these lines? Or are these just things that my character happened to say that aren't pertaining to the story? Sharp writing, focused editing is good storytelling. The restaurant, did we get permission? Yes, we did. You sometimes have to play to home field advantage. Joel knew people in the community, so we asked him, if you're going to lunch, can you make sure it's a restaurant that A, looks good, and B, you think you would be able to film in? The restaurant owners were super chill. We waited for maybe 20 minutes to get that corner table. There were some people finishing up their meal. We liked having the light in there, and that was also a bit further away from the other guests. And I just shot a few times with the FX3. Maybe only shot for 5 to 10 minutes for our entire 2-hour lunch that we had. It was a long lunch, maybe an hour and a half, but I didn't want to film the entire time. And I think that's a goal with these short docs. Don't film everything. Don't come back with 10 hours of footage. Be selective, be editing in camera. What LUTs did I use? Well, of course I used my MB Sony Cine LUT, but I've also been developing a huge LUT pack with Sam Zook. He's a colorist out of LA and he works on a lot of Netflix series. We've been developing, it's gonna have about 200 different LUTs for each camera. So I used a couple of his new LUTs that he sent me just to tweak these colors, but then of course I go crazy and I increase the contrast and I do crazy S-curves. I wanted to try some new, more extreme looks in this, and if you like them, we can release these as LUTs. Where did I get the music? Well, the main track, this is from Cubby, I believe their name is, from MusicBed. I'm always using MusicBed for my projects. By far, they have the most advanced and most, to use an overused term, cinematic library. You saw Chase It From the South, that was all MusicBed. And what I like about MusicBed is they have some weird songs. I don't want my music to just be typical. I don't want it just to be a symphony that you've heard in other films. I like my songs being weird. I also got to give a big shout out. I had a friend, Harrison Wood, who helped make a custom track for this as well. That second track he did called Ellipsis. Beautiful, evocative. Huge shout out to MusicBed. And if you want to try them out yourself, I put a link to them down below in the description. Did I use halation on this? Yes, I did. I used Film Convert on this and I was using their nitrate plugin, and now it has halation built in. Halation is that kind of filmic emulsion where the highlights bloom and bleed and sometimes have chromatic abrasion. You can see the slow motion shot of Joel sitting here with the steam coming off and the shine off the sweat on his face. That's that blooming halation. Gives it more of a 35 mil kind of older film stock where there's some natural organic imperfections happening in the image. And I, again, haven't used halation much on my project, so I wanted to explore it on this project. Sometimes maybe a bit extreme, but again, this is me wanting to push my craft and try new things. Last question, was it easy to get my subjects to warm up to me, to open up and to give their brain and their heart? I say yes. It's still always challenging to get people at times. I was trying to get Joel to really dig deeper, and he was saying he hadn't thought about these ideas. So I let him have the night, and at the end of the next day, he was able to open up about some of those ideas. But I find if you just build a friendship and you give people the vision that you're not clandestine or trying to hide your vision as a director too much, it allows people to feel safety and trust with you, because then they aren't trying to figure out what you're doing. They understand, and they can decide whether to partner with that that or not. And again, I usually don't film people who aren't vulnerable or don't have a sense of humility. I don't find people interesting in a film when they're guarded and they won't allow to ask them tougher questions or to open up. This is why I actually choose my documentary characters. And the theory that we're always using in Art of Documentary is to allow them to be almost a co-director. Ask them about parts of their life and allow them to come into the creative process. Allow them to suggest certain things. This whole shoot was really planned by Joel. We just kept asking him, hey, where do you want to go next? What is the next thing you were doing? And Joel gave us some really dynamic scenarios. He gave us the hill on the sand, he took us down to the beach, and then we ended out at that cliff when we asked him if we could have a really cool sunset shot. This is what's great about collaborating with your subjects, is they know their world well, and when they understand your vision and they have trust and they don't feel that you're just taking, that they're partnering with you to look to the same direction, then I find they open up more. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you again to our sponsor, Crucial. Let me know if there's any other videos you'd like me to do before the end of the year. Christmas is coming up soon, so I'm gonna be taking a little break. I'm also gonna be heading to Australia and New Zealand. I said that really weird. Australia.
You look after your mates and your mates will always look after you.
So if you're there or you're part of Art of Documentary, let me know. Perhaps I'll do a meetup. But thank you for watching. I hate goodbyes.